Everyone, good evening. And I am Nigel Dexter Ellis, host of Her Majesty's Radio Theatre, a weekly radio programme from London, featuring dramatisations of great works of British literature, and soon to be broadcasting from Stage 212 in downtown LaSalle, Illinois, December 6th and 8th. And today, joining us at the closing turn of the ankle at the Annie Wilkes Theatre, we are joined by one of England's most celebrated actors, Mr. Wilfred Pilgrim.
Always a pleasure to join you, Majesty.
Tonight, you are here for Hearing Christmas in the Time of Dickens. But not only will you hear from us, but we require your voices, our audience, to intensify the experience. It will be very difficult for us to hear you at home, so be very loud. But we're going to require our audience to, at intervals, when we raise a sign, to promote your participation. So when Willie or I lift the sign, please respond to the phrase on the sign and give it the old college try. Willie?
Yeah!
Fair, but our Sherlock audiences did so much better.
Very cheeky. Yes,
Let us try again. Now, we have reserved our two most important signs for last. As you all know, we are here tonight for Her Majesty's Radio Theatre presents Christmas Carol,
The Ghosts of Christmas.
Now, these Victorian spirits must elicit fear and wonder, and this audience must all participate as loyal subjects of the realm and good servants of our Queen.
God save her.
Now, let us hear this studio audience collectively evoke the most soulful lamentation. Are you ready?
Yes.
Quilly!
Ooh.
Heavens, they cause my soul to shake.
I'm stirred.
Now, as we are celebrating not only ghosts, but Christmas, we have one more sign indicating the need for your participation in the season. This sign signals your moment to sing the greatest of all Christmas carols.
Now, what about the figgy pudding?
You know?
Yes.
But not the figgy pudding part.
Okay, ready?
Okay, let's
Sing. Go for it. Sing.
God rest ye merry.
Oh, yes.
Please,
That's what I want. Ready? Everybody now?
God rest ye merry
gentlemen, let nothing you dismay.
That's it.
All you get.
All right, now, okay. First rate. Now, which side? I might be taking your lines.
Stop it.
All right.
First rate.
Yes.
On the first rate, ladies and
It
gentlemen.
was
Thank you very
anyway.
much. Today, we're diving into the delightful world of Christmas in the time of Charles Dickens.
But Dickens was not the only author of Christmas
You
tales.
don't say.
I do. Years before, in the 1820s, Nathaniel Hawthorne, an American writer,
Blasphemy.
nonetheless, Hawthorne's collection, the sketchbook of Geoffrey Craven, created not only The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and Rip Van Winkle, but inspired a romantic revival of Christmas with 5 distinctly British Yuletide tales.
Credits where credit is due.
If you must remain loyal to Britain, ask your librarian for the bedside book of famous British stories with Christmas tales by Elizabeth Gaskell and William Makepeace Thackeray.
Yes, right.
Picture it, London, 1843, a city bustling with chimneys smoking like dragon's breath, and the London streets echoing with the activity of Christmas morning. The weather is severe.
The townsfolk are scraping the snow from the sidewalks, making a rough but not unpleasant kind of music.
All the hearths in London were blazing to their heart's content as shoppers hurry about to complete the perfect Christmas dinner.
And the stores are still glowing with patrons.
The steeples are calling all good people to church and chapel. And what do we have at the center of this festive mayhem? None other than Christmas carols. wrote it in just 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Huh. That's a week shorter than my last contract.
Willie, you know that for many, Christmas is no laughing matter.
True, last December, my sister had to rush my godson to hospital after he had eaten several decorations from our tree.
Heavens! I hope that he's well now.
Oh, nothing serious. No worries. It was just a slight case of tinselitis. Okay, in all seriousness now, of course, Betsy. In Dickens' time, Christmas may have been festive for the rich, but not the poor. When Charles Dickens was 12 years old, his father, mother, and 5 brothers and sisters, ages 2 to 11, were in prison because the family was in debt. And that's what they did to the poor in the mid-1800s. If you fell behind your bills or could not pay your legal fines, you and your family went to government workhouses or prisons, where you would labor to earn your keep. And Scrooge believed it was right and proper.
Mr. Scrooge, at this festive season of the year, it is compassionate that a rich man like yourself make some slight provision for the poor and destitute.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons, sir.
And are the workhouses still in operation?
Prisons and workhouses scarcely furnish cheer to the mind and or body of the multitude. Many can't go there, and many would rather die.
Then they'd better get to it and decrease the surplus population.
Actually, Willie, by the time Charles Dickens published A Christmas Carol, celebrating Christmas was actually on the decline. And the landscape of Christmas in the UK was rather different. Do you remember Oliver Cromwell?
Ah, yes, the man who outlawed Christmas.
Yes, in June of 1647, around about my Willie's 3rd birthday.
That would make me almost 300 years old.
You don't look a day over 298. Old Oliver Cromwell's Parliament made celebrating Christmas illegal for over 20 years. Celebrations such as feasting and merrymaking were banned. On Christmas, December 25th, it was even illegal to sing.
Rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay.
Goodness, I'm glad it's not illegal now.
Yes, imagine a Christmas without pudding, or worse, a 20th century person would find himself in a tavern or house of the period. He would literally stink. Stink with the smell, stink with the atmosphere around him, stink with lots of mustard, underdone potatoes, or an undigested bit of beef. Rich and poor alike, thrown together in the crowded city streets, street sweepers attempting to sweep the streets clean from thousands of horse-drawn vehicles.
Even cattle driven through the streets. Street vendors hawking their wares.
Hey, chestnuts, get your roasted chestnuts.
Drunks.
I could use a pint of Guinness. Oh, yes, that'd be very nice.
And beggars.
Please, may I have some more? Our Little Twist was written by Charles Dickens in 1838 about a young boy who escaped a workhouse.
Adding to the colourful multitude, personal cleanliness was not a big priority. Crowded rooms and the smell of unwashed bodies was stifling.
Is that you or me?
By the industrial era, Mr. Dickens' time, for many folks, Christmas was just another smelly workday.
The closing hour of the counting house had arrived, and Cratchit blew out his candle, put on his hat, and walked over to his ill-tempered master.
Mr. Scrooge,
He'll be wanting all day tomorrow, I suppose.
if it's quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient. A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day.
Yes, Mr. Scrooge.
Very well.
Thank you, sir.
Be here early the next morning.
I will, sir. Quite early, sir. Thank you, sir. Merry Christmas, sir.
Ah, humbug! I can't say it's any different for a working actor, maybe. In the past several holiday seasons, I've done 5 or 6 different productions of A Christmas Carol.
It wasn't all fun and games, Willie. The reader was also forced to learn a lesson.
Barney's Ghost. How how now? Who are you?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
I didn't think you were the cleaning lady. What do you want with me?
Much, Scrooge, much.
And who can forget the jolly spirit of Christmas present?
Ha, ha, ha! You have never seen the like of me before, have you, Scrooge?
I think I would have remembered.
Have you never walked with my 1800 elder brothers born these later years?
Considering your size and appetite, your parents should have stopped at 3 or 4.
When Dickens' Christmas Carol was published in 1843, it took off faster than Father Christmas Sleigh on Christmas Eve. People were reading it by candlelight and chuckling over Scrooge's transformation.
Ha! I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy.
Exactly! As Christmas became more widely celebrated and commercialized, it transformed into the wonderful family holiday we have today.
Right. Suddenly, it was not just the wealthy partaking in Christmas festivities. Everyone wanted to join in roasting chestnuts and keeping an eye out for wary spirits.
Ooh.
And caroling.
God
Rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay.
And let us not overlook how A Christmas Carol promoted kindness, generosity, and compassion.
So people were finally able to say Merry Christmas again?
Just remember, when celebrating Christmas Day with your non-smelly family instead of at work,
Or in prison?
you might just have to thank Charles Dickens.
And I shall prance through the street shouting, Merry Christmas to all!
And so begins a transformation like no other. Remember, folks, it's all about spreading goodwill, just like Dickens intended. A Merry Christmas to all, my dears. God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Thank you for coming tonight and hearing the sounds and smells and the sights of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
You can see the full show live on stage with all its sounds and laughter on St. Nicholas Day.
That's Friday, December 6th at 7:30, and Sunday, December 8th at 2 p.m.
At Stage 212, 101st Street, downtown LaSalle.
Tickets are available by contacting the box office at 815-224-3025 or stage212.org/special events.
Thank you.
Thank you. And did you have one more thing to say?
Well, actually, I did. Just one more thing. If you're looking for books in this very library, you can find not only Christmas Carol, and if you were here, get one free, but also Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, A Tale of Two Cities, David Copperfield, and Bleak House.
Check with your librarian for all of the books we've mentioned and more.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if we will now open the floor to any questions that you might have.
So you did Sherlock Holmes last year.
Sherlock
Yes,
Holmes and the
Sherlock
Hound of
Holmes.
the Baskervilles.
Why Christmas Carol this year?
Well, we thought it'd be more marketable. No.
We wanted to, we wanted something that was definitely for the season. We knew we were going to be performing in December, so we were definitely, and we had been leaning towards this one. We actually have about 5 or 6 public domain stories that are lined up that we want to create for Her Majesty's Radio Theatre and for the characters of Nigel and Wilfred. So we will continue to work on new scripts, and we hope to have 4 or 5. But Christmas Carol was one we had been planning for a while, and one we want to take all to a variety of places if we can. And you're only seeing literally 10% of our props. We are missing many. We only brought a handful for today, but there are many, many more sound effects. So, and we also have music playing, underscoring as well. So there's a lot more going on in the actual production.
Yes, definitely. I would definitely say by adapting the script. It was one thing to go ahead and do The Hound of the Baskervilles, a story by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who was originally, of course, a doctor and not a writer, and to find that I'd have to go ahead and accomplish Christmas Carol in 2 hours. I'd have to cut things out. My God, the script was so much more marvelous than
Yes.
Hand of the Basket.
In Hand of Baskervilles, there were certainly some sporting characters that if we just cut their entire storyline out, you didn't miss a thing. So we could literally get it down to, I think I had 8 characters and you had, I think 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
I think in this one, I think there were a total of 30.
Most definitely. We had to go ahead and kill off some of the Cratchit children.
And some of the party members at Fred Scrooge's nephew's party, it's really the same 6 people over and over
Over
again.
and over again.
The rest of the party goers are, I guess they're non-union actors, so they don't get paid.
Mhm. All our machines, and it's not necessarily everything one, but the very special ones you see, were created by a gentleman by the name of Edward Koizumi. He lives in Oak Park, Illinois. He's a former lots of things. For one thing, he's a fabricator. He produced different props.
Props for television and film.
Have you ever seen the shake and bake chicken who's actually dancing? Ed Koizumi was operating a drill underneath the surface.
Literally on the camera. And that, of course, is his phone ringer as well. We said we needed a phone for Sherlock Holmes, and he didn't just create a phone ringer, he created a beautiful piece of work, art. Everything he makes is art. If you look at the detail of
This
our
is a
ring
traditional ring machine. You go ahead
machine,
and
done in a
say
traditional
he's
style.
got all these baffles, so it scratches across the surface.
Doesn't make a sound unless the
No,
canvas
yes.
is across.
And he hand turned these handles himself.
And of course, you're missing so many props. Dory, our door,
Yes.
has a knocker and it squeaks because there's squeaking ropes and there's chains and there's locks on it. So Dory is missing. And of course, our thunder sheet and all sorts of other clocks.
Large chimes.
Yes.
There's nothing like the beautiful sound of chimes made with a floor jack.
Yes, that's what we use, a floor jack. And
It
of
was
course, we have all
tuned
of
by
Dickens'
Edward
chains.
Koizumi.
Sorry?
It was tuned by
Well,
Edward Koizumi.
There's many holes in it. And so I just had it hanging randomly. And Ed goes, well, if you wire it through this hole, it's a certain percentage of the pipe and it'll make the best sound. And we're like, oh, only Ed can give us that sort of detail.
Most definitely.
So, and yes, so I hope you'll all come and see the rest of the prompts as well.
We came up with the Moo Machine, as we like to call it, because in the middle of Sherlock Holmes, everything takes place in the moors.
In this show, it only represents a cow. But we couldn't not have the cow.
Most definitely.
So, you know,
It's
even
a
though there
signature
is no cow in the actual book, there's a cow in our
most
collection.
definitely. Mhm. There'll always be cows.
There will always be cows.
Or at some time you might actually find yourself on the moors.
Any other questions?
How do you pick your sound effects? Like
Ah,
what you're
excellent.
going
You know, well, when our very first script was actually, we chose to Zoom call each other during COVID. A play called
The
Mystery of Irma Vep, an existing play by
Charles Dicken.
Dicken.
It's a spoof of many of the horror films that you might have seen mixed in with Rebecca.
And of course, that one is done as a costume drama, where there's only 2 actors, but they're playing multiple characters on different costumes. We were zooming it, and of course, if you want to do that play, it comes with a sound effects package that they require you to purchase.
And
So
you have
that
to
was
find a
interesting.
way to have break apart costumes so you can switch characters.
So we knew we were never going to perform that show. But we decided, what if we took that and just sort of created our own sound effects rather than buy their sound effects? And hence started the idea. And I built my first attempt at a rain machine. And my friend Ed, who actually was a guest at our Chestnut Street Inn at the time, took one look at my rain machine, took pity on me, and made this one. Actually, this is 2.0. He actually built a second one. We call that our hail machine because there are many different baffles that you could have in there so that it sounds more tinny, like a tin roof. This one sounds a little bit more just like a traditional rain hitting wood.
It also has a randomized baffles in it in different sides. So when the
Yes.
different surfaces are inside, we can actually change the type of material that is inside the machine so we can create a different type of hit for noise.
He also created the wind machine, and he created our on-air light, which you will see in the show because we were actually on radio. He created this amazing microphone. It's not an actual microphone, but it looks like a microphone at the time that hangs above us. So that he built us a bunch of visual props as well. And slowly but surely, these props we would say, okay, we need this prop for Irma Vep. When we performed Irma Vep, literally on our patio in our garden at the time, it was the end because we didn't have the rights to it and we couldn't charge anyone for it. So we did it for free in our patio. And then we said, okay, we're never going to do an existing script again. He's a writer, so I'm not a writer.
I'm an adapter for right now.
And I'm a professional kibitzer. So when he writes, I kibitz.
And also during the show, you'll see, since it's a radio show, there are several imagined commercials during the show.
Well, we have to have sponsors. So Cratchit's Cratching Cane is one of our sponsors.
Yes, what's the monument shop?
Oh,
it's on the top of
I have
it.
the whole script. Where is it? Where is the monument?
It's near the top.
I just turned to Cratchit's Cratching Cane. Well, there are many commercials. Of course, we have a commercial for Ed's Theatrical Machine.
Oh, most definitely, all the time.
Yes, we have many commercials.
Manchester Mausoleum Marker and Monument.
Yes, M.
Yes, most definitely, always beautiful. Because if you need a sarcophagus, you should be calling us.
Yes, and I think the last one is Dearly Departed Discounts.
Yes.
So it's a consignment shop for those who have departed and you want to sell off their stuff. So Dearly Departed Discounts is another one of our sponsors. So those are always fun to throw in the commercials.
And just at different moments where we attempt to go ahead and spoof each other during the show, etc.
Oh, that never happens.
No.
We never pick on each other at all. The fun thing about it is when you are doing a radio play, we don't want to just do a Christmas Carol. There's the two gentlemen who are presenting it, who work for the radio station. So before the on-air light comes on, there's a bunch of banter between Nigel and Willie.
And we talk to the audience.
And we talk to the audience about what's going to happen. And then, of course, we turn the on-air light and they do some banter on microphone, on the radio, and then they tell the story as well. So there's two scripts. There's what we call the wraparound script of the two radio characters, and then there's story that they are telling. So just like in Sherlock Holmes, Willie and Nigel were telling that story. Now we have Willie and Nigel telling this story. So we always have a through line of Her Majesty's Radio Theater. Any other question?
How long does it take you to write this?
Let me tell you one thing that is wonderful. The first time when I wrote Sherlock, I actually started listening to a radio play from the 1970s, and then I pulled up the Gutenberg version of it to fill in the parts that I said, oh, this needs more. And that actually took me a lot more time. I'm not a great typist, so I'm transcribing with this in my head as I'm writing.
And then we decided, well, this character we don't want this character. So if we cut this character, what storylines do they tell that we need to put into another character's mouth? We ended up cutting, I think, like I said, I think there were about 7 characters of Sherlock that we just decided we weren't going to use.
Right, and Watson practically narrates every single moment of what's happening in it.
So you basically played Nigel and Watson, and I played everybody else.
And I had to stick words, and we had to separate lines to make sure that that I wasn't talking all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one, Nigel runs the station, and he brings in Wilfred as his guest star. So to honor his guest star, he always gives me the leading role. So I play Sherlock, I play Scrooge, and then we fill in the rest of the parts.
The part that was interesting about this is that there's so much narration that we decided that both Willie and Nigel would be doing the narration.
Split up the narration.
Otherwise,
it was all Nigel.
Yes, lots of beautiful stuff, but it was like, when are we going to go ahead and put these in the words, directly from the characters? When are we going to go ahead?
And you heard that a little bit tonight in a little bit of our sample. Nigel and Willie narrate, and then we jump into the characters of Scrooge, and hopefully the voice makes it clear that all of a sudden Scrooge is talking.
And there are some times that we have to be lightning fast in between a certain amount of things. Very interesting to see that when anybody ever leaves Scrooge's place of business, the door opens. The wind comes in, the door closes.
Yes, we have this little pattern. He does the door and the wind and the chime, and he does the door closing. So we have this little chink. that we have practiced many times.
Yes.
Passaging through the door.
So yeah, so I probably had the
Christmas Carol was our script that we have here, and we have the whole script with us, is 5.0. The first script was January, and we would do a read through and we would mark it up and say, okay, let's try this. And once we had so many markings in it that we could barely read it, you would type it into, we would put all those markings into the computer, we'd print 2.0. And then we rehearsed 2.0, and okay, we're going to change this, we're going to do this. So the script that we actually have now that we're going to perform with this next week is our 5th version of the script. So we started in January, and here we are. I think we did our last rewrite literally in September.
The big one was that slide, because I had originally gone ahead because you want to have a cliffhanger during that, and so that was originally yes, the Ghost of Christmas Future appears, but but Act 1 was so long that we had to go
I
ahead.
had to figure out where to put, putting the app break was a trick.
Yeah, so
we
the
moved it, and then once we moved the track, that break, oh, well, then this now has to move the second act.
Yeah.
The first act.
Yeah. So that was definitely an interesting thing to get done. To go ahead and also find out, okay, where are the sound effects? What happens in this particular thing? And what is also still the form? I believe it, because the big thing that we created when we did the Account of the Baskervilles is the beginning to teach the audience how to be communicating with us,
Right.
As opposed to just come along, go along with us,
The signs, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you look at the script, it's all color coordinated. So I have Scrooge is in yellow, Nephew Red is in Fred. The sound effects are in pink, and then, of course, it goes on and on. There's different colors, different characters talking, and there's blue, that's Willie. Green, I don't know who's green.
Sometimes I literally write the word lisp in the script so I can remember to change my voice back to Nigel's.
And then there's sometimes where there's nothing but pink, so there's a ton of sound effects on that page.
Yes.
Yes, whenever you see the pink, that's a sound effect. And then the rest is talking. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. Next question.
Which ghost is the most fun to play?
He's the ghost.
I have all of them. You actually, there's a very special guest ghost. Right? You'll just have to see the Ghost of Christmas Future.
Ah,
yes, it's
yes.
a very interesting.
The Ghost of Christmas Future is a sound effect. We will not tell you what it is, but let's just suffice it to say, it's not here.
Very new to us.
Okay, but here's the thing that's truly amazing about Equizumi. He decided we were going to use this thing, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but he had to make a bow. We could have gone on eBay and bought a base bow. In fact, we did, because we needed to have one. And it was, $15.
Yes.
He decided to import, what kind of hair did he import? Oxtail hair from China, and created a bow. And to create it, he has to turn to tighten the hair so that it can be rosin. He built a bow. There's nothing this man cannot make.
I love this story. Here, it's like, when I went online to look to see, because we knew that we were going to be using these, right, is that if you want to buy coconut halves, I think that it's about $20
$20
to purchase this. So
I went and got a coconut at the store, and
we sawed it in half. And Jeff actually drank the coconut milk from this.
Yes, and then dug out the food, dried them out, and went, okay, that was the plot. So sometimes we make our own props, so we find props, and then
these are actually paint scrapers from my house.
Yes, sandpaper. Yes. When in doubt, Ed built it, and the Ghost of Christmas Future's voice. Suffice to say, it's not an easy instrument to play. So I had to practice and learn how to play. For Irma Bep, I learned to play the recorder.
Yes.
And for this show, I had to learn to play that instrument. It's a surprise. I'm not going to tell you. The voice of the ghost.
But when it comes to the ghosts, it's because I've got Jacob Farley. I am the ghost of
past, present.
Yes. Yes. So I definitely had some time playing with those particular voices. There's a lot of wonderful description. One of the things that's interesting about the Ghost of Christmas Past is it has this very androgynous nature to it. Very, very often it's portrayed as a woman if you see the drawing, but if you hear the description, it's like beyond imagining what it actually is.
I think there's 5 female characters that we play in this.
Mhm.
So we have our falsettos in there. I'm Mrs. Cratchit, and I think I'm also Mrs. Fezziwig.
Yes, I play Belle.
You play Belle, Scrooge's girlfriend, because I'm Scrooge in all of his ages, which is kind of funny because I play Scrooge in 4 different ages and I play his nephew Fred. They're all one voice because they're all related. So it just changed the timbre. Scrooge is old, Fred is my normal voice, then there's young Scrooge, and then there's child Scrooge, but it's all the same voice. So it's kind of so that's one of the tricks of.
I also play a charwoman who took stuff out of his crazy place and he's selling it.
Right, and I tell you, I play Joe. He's the guy who owns the shop that he sells it to. So we have all sorts of characters like that. In
Some people show up for a second.
in Sherlock Holmes, we had all we narrowed it down to characters. So each character had a big part. So I did an English accent. I did a Spanish female accent. I did a Southern North Carolina accent, and I did an Essex accent and an Irish accent. In this show,
where did you get the Latino woman from?
My Latina woman was an impersonation of Charles.
I don't talk like a troll because it's a Minnesota like that,
But for this show, they're all English accents. So there's no way to break apart and make them really obvious like that. So
You gotta have one that's got
low voices, middle voices, high voices, changing the timbre, changing
What am I
the
doing with
tone.
my mouth at this particular
Right,
time?
change back to the slack line.
Yes, exactly.
So there's since we don't have such distinct accents, we have to find different ways to make it clear what characters are talking and who's talking. And also we have a little bit of a cheat. Can we tell them, or do you want to keep that a secret?
Cheat? I
About-
never cheat.
Well, do you want to give it away?
Go for it.
So we are supposedly going to have a group of actors playing all these parts, but a snowstorm has kept them all from coming. So one of the first things that happens is that Nigel tells Wilfred that none of the actors are showing up. And I ask him, well, then who's going to play Fred? Well, then who's going to play Mrs. Cratchit?
Well, I'm playing ball.
Well, who's going to play Belle? Yes. And who's going to play Joe? Oh, so the idea, the audience now finds out, literally in the beginning of the play, that there's supposed to be 10 other actors here and they're not here.
And as the play
So we have
progresses,
to do them
and as
all.
the play progresses, I will do things like go to him. He's like, I'm not doing it. Okay, I'm doing it.
The gimmick for that in Sherlock Holmes was I didn't know what accent I was going to use.
So that
So
always
he would
going
say-
so and in comes an Irish gentleman.
Hi, Fred McGord. I guess I'm going to be talking with an Irish accent then. I'm before that character, so all of a sudden he has an Irish accent. And so yeah, we did that as a gimmick. So I always had to pretend like I didn't know what accent I was about to use that I'd rehearsed for months. Yes. Any other questions?
Do you yourselves enjoy listening to radio performances, old time ones, and is that what
More
inspired
so
you?
myself that I have done. I've definitely played with a lot of them for years. For Festival 56, used to do. They would alternate. What was it? They alternated Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life radio shows using many of these kind of things. And I directed community members for that radio broadcast. So there was both an in-house cast and people like the mayor would be there.
I never paid attention at all, really. I mean, I heard a couple of the Shadow Knows. I had heard a couple when I was young, but I didn't really. I'm a musical theater singer and dancer mostly. I do love doing voices, and I have about 15 accents in my belt, mostly because of
Then he took
college.
his pants on that way.
But it was one of the studies of college was in acting was to learn how to do accents. So I could do 4 different Southern accents. I could do a lot. So I learned accents. So the idea of playing with voices and all that was always intriguing. But the idea of actually listening to radios and understanding Foley, I didn't start doing that until we started working on this project. And over the last couple of years, I've listened to many to help figure out how we're going to do this and make it of the time period, because we are putting ourselves in 1959. There is no, you need a gunshot, well, you program the computer and you go, bang, and it happens, like we did with Misery. All the sound effects of the car and the timer going off in the kitchen and the gunshot, all those sound effects are done from the sound booth. But we are not doing anything from the sound booth but music. All of the sound effects are coming from the stage live. So it's the 1959 aspect of what we're doing. We're trying to really put ourselves in that time period of no technology.
Also finding music that for the story was of the time period of the story.
Right. What? Oh, this is a great piece of music. When was it written?
Yeah.
But
then the
it's written
commercials-
after 1959.
Yeah.
You can't use it.
But the commercials are all music from the 1950s.
50s, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, they had to be things that would be more common in Britain.
Yes.
This is Her Majesty's Radio Theatre, and the idea is Her Majesty's Radio Theatre is actually commissioned by the Crown to present.
And I believe that she had been on the throne for like 5 years by the time, supposedly 1959 is when this
Yes.
takes place.
We're stuck in time. It's
Yeah.
always 1959. Every year we're here, still 1959.
Yes.
Never going to be 1960 ever. Any other questions?
Are you into War of the Worlds?
It's an American piece, but
I
as original,
teased him. I
H.G.
want
Wells
two
was
American.
not.
I want to do Dick Tracy because I think we get so much fun with those ones.
Because it's such an American, the thing is, now
They're
H.G.
two American.
Wells, maybe not, but it's such an American idea.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I just feel like I'd be stealing from somebody else. There might be another H.G. Wells, like The Time Machine.
Yeah.
I've been interested in doing, yes.
Yes. I'm not sure what is the warlock? What do they talk? How do they talk?
Well, we figured that out, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we do have to kind of stick to British stories, mostly because they are British radio.
We had the Southern guy, just because that was Jeff's idea. Actually, the character that he was playing in the script, in the original, is a Brit who was raised in Canada.
But we decided to put him in North Carolina.
So which
So
allowed
we had an accent like this to just throw in. And if you wonder where I got it, I stole it from Leslie Jordan, the little funny comedian. 'Cause he
which
said
also
just
allowed
like
me to
that.
do things like have him respond, well, bust my britches.
So we threw in all sorts of funny lines that were not Sherlock Holmes. But because I chose that accent, or Carolina, the Carolinas, as I say. Any other questions? I think that wraps us up then.
All right, thank you very
For
much.
those
Thank
of
you
you
for joining
online,
us.
thank you. I please hope you'll join us at the actual show and see the rest of our amazing show.
Your
and hear
singing
the rest
voices
of
were
the amazing show.
beautiful.
Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.